3 weeks later, the expedition arrived at a remote Antarctic research station. The location was far from normal shipping routes. Far from civilization. Far from help. The weather was brutal. Winds screamed across endless fields of ice. Temperatures dropped below -50 degrees Celsius. Yet beneath all that frozen wilderness, something was waiting. The first night at the station, Emma met the expedition leader, Professor James Holloway. A respected scientist. A brilliant man. But something seemed wrong. He looked exhausted. Terrified. As if he hadn't slept for days. When Emma asked about the signal, Holloway remained silent for several seconds. Then he handed her a tablet. "Watch this," he said quietly. The video showed a drilling team working beneath the ice. Everything looked normal. Until minute 3. Suddenly one worker stopped moving. He stared into the darkness beyond the camera. Completely frozen. Then slowly. He smiled. A strange smile. Too wide. Too unnatural. The other workers noticed. One of them approached him. "Are you okay?" The man never answered. He continued staring into the darkness. Smiling. Then he whispered 4 words. "They know we're here." The camera suddenly lost signal. The footage ended. Emma looked back at Holloway. What happened to him? The professor's face turned pale. He disappeared 6 hours later. Emma frowned. Disappeared? Holloway nodded slowly. No footprints. No blood. No body. Nothing. Outside, a powerful blizzard slammed against the station windows. The lights flickered briefly. Then went dark. For 3 seconds. The room became completely black. And during those 3 seconds, Emma heard something. A voice. Very close. Whispering beside her ear. A language she had never heard before. The lights returned. Everyone looked normal. Nobody seemed to notice anything strange. Except Emma. Because lying on the table in front of her was a small piece of black stone. A stone that had not been there before. And carved into its surface was a symbol. A symbol identical to the one hidden inside the mysterious signal beneath the ice. To be continued. The storm outside intensified throughout the night. Winds howled across Antarctica like the cries of something ancient buried beneath the frozen world. Emma couldn't sleep. The black stone sat on her desk. Silent. Cold. Watching. At least, that was how it felt. Every time she looked away, she had the strange feeling it had moved slightly. Closer. Waiting. At exactly 3:13 a.m., a loud alarm shattered the silence. The entire research station erupted into chaos. Scientists rushed through the hallways. Emergency lights flashed red. Emma grabbed her coat and ran toward the operations room. Professor Holloway was already there. His face looked pale. Terrified. A technician pointed at a screen. Something just happened at Drill Site 7. The monitor displayed live footage from 2 miles beneath the ice. At first Emma saw nothing unusual. Then her eyes widened. The drilling machine had broken through something. Not rock. Not ice. A wall. A perfectly smooth black wall. The room fell silent. Nobody spoke. The wall looked impossible. Ancient. Massive. And completely untouched by time. How old is it? Emma whispered. One scientist shook his head. Impossible to know. Another technician nervously added. Whatever it is, it shouldn't be here. The camera zoomed closer. Strange symbols covered the surface. Emma's heart skipped a beat. The symbols matched the carving on the black stone. Exactly. Suddenly, the monitor flickered. Static filled the screen. A strange low-frequency sound echoed through the speakers. Several scientists covered their ears. The noise felt wrong. Not loud, but painful. Almost alive. Then a voice emerged from the static. Speaking slowly. Clearly. In a language nobody understood. Everyone froze. Except Emma. Because somehow, she understood every word. The door is opening. A cold chill raced through her body. Turn it off, someone shouted. The speakers were disconnected immediately. Silence returned. But Emma could still hear the voice. Inside her head. Repeating the same sentence. Again. And again. And again. The door is opening. 2 days later, the expedition descended beneath the ice. The elevator platform dropped through a narrow shaft stretching deep into the frozen earth. The deeper they traveled, the stranger things became. Electronic equipment malfunctioned. Compasses spun wildly. Radio communication failed repeatedly. After nearly 40 minutes, they finally reached the bottom. The enormous black wall stood before them. Up close, it was even more terrifying. It stretched beyond the reach of their floodlights. Hundreds of feet high. Hundreds of feet wide. Perhaps larger. Nobody could see its full size. The symbols carved into it seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. As if they were moving. Breathing. Watching. Emma stepped forward carefully. Then she noticed something strange. At the center of the wall stood a doorway. A gigantic circular door. Perfectly sealed. Hidden beneath the ice for thousands of years. Maybe longer. Professor Holloway looked at the team. We're making history today. Nobody looked excited. Only nervous. Very nervous. A technician activated a scanning device. The machine immediately overloaded. Sparks exploded. The screen went black. Then one message appeared. Life detected. The room instantly froze. Emma stared at the screen. That's impossible. The technician slowly nodded. His hands were shaking. Something is alive on the other side. Then something happened. The black stone inside Emma's pocket suddenly became warm. Very warm. She quickly pulled it out. The symbols on its surface were glowing faintly. The giant door responded immediately. A deep rumbling sound echoed through the chamber. The entire underground facility shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling. Scientists stumbled backward. The circular door began moving. Slowly. After thousands of years. It was opening. A gap appeared. Only a few inches at first. Then wider. And wider. Darkness poured from inside. Not normal darkness. A darkness so deep it seemed to swallow light itself. The floodlights near the doorway flickered. Then died. One by one. The temperature suddenly dropped. Several scientists started shivering uncontrollably. Then. Something moved inside the darkness. A shape. Tall. Human-like. Watching them. Waiting. And from deep within the ancient city beyond the door. A distant voice echoed through the darkness. Welcome back. The ancient door continued opening. Stone scraped against stone with a sound so deep it seemed to vibrate through the bones of everyone present. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The darkness beyond the doorway felt wrong. Alive. Watching. Waiting. Professor Holloway slowly raised his flashlight. The beam disappeared into the darkness. It was as if the light itself had been swallowed. One of the scientists nervously whispered. What if we're making a mistake? No one answered. Because deep down, everyone already knew they were. After several minutes, the expedition entered. The moment Emma crossed the doorway, a strange sensation rushed through her body. Like stepping into another world. The air was different. Warmer. Impossible beneath 2 miles of Antarctic ice. The tunnel beyond the entrance stretched endlessly forward. Its walls were made from the same black stone as the giant door. Ancient symbols glowed faintly across every surface. The symbols pulsed softly. Like a heartbeat. Emma's black stone began glowing brighter inside her pocket. As though it recognized this place. Or belonged here. The team walked for nearly 30 minutes. The tunnel gradually widened. Then suddenly, everyone stopped. The sight before them was impossible. An entire city lay hidden beneath Antarctica. A massive city. Far larger than anyone could have imagined. Towering black structures stretched into darkness above. Gigantic bridges connected enormous buildings. Ancient roads crossed the landscape. Statues taller than skyscrapers stood frozen in eternal silence. The city looked untouched. Preserved. Waiting. Emma stared in disbelief. Human civilization was believed to be only a few thousand years old. But this place looked older than history itself. Older than any known civilization. Older than anything humanity had ever discovered. One scientist whispered. This changes everything. Another quietly replied. If anyone survives to tell the world. As the team descended into the city, strange things began happening. Cameras malfunctioned. Battery levels dropped rapidly. Several recordings became corrupted instantly. Every electronic device seemed affected by the city. Except one. Emma's tablet. For some reason, it continued functioning perfectly. And then something appeared on its screen. A map. No one had uploaded it. No one had created it. Yet there it was. A complete map of the underground city. At the center was a single symbol. The same symbol carved into Emma's black stone. Beneath it were 3 words. The sleeper waits. Emma's stomach tightened. She quickly showed the others. But before anyone could respond, a scream echoed through the city. A human scream. Loud. Terrified. Painful. Everyone spun around. One of the scientists was missing. Gone. Just gone. His flashlight lay on the ground. Still shining. Still recording. But the man himself had vanished. Professor Holloway ordered an immediate search. The team spread out through nearby streets. Emma followed a narrow pathway between 2 enormous stone buildings. The deeper she walked, the quieter everything became. Soon she realized she was alone. Completely alone. Then she noticed something strange. Footprints. Fresh footprints. Not from her team. The footprints were enormous. Far larger than any human foot. And there were dozens of them. All leading toward the center of the city. Emma's heartbeat accelerated. She carefully followed them. The footprints eventually stopped outside a gigantic statue. The statue stood nearly 300 feet tall. It depicted a hooded figure with its hands crossed over its chest. Its face was hidden beneath a stone hood. At the base of the statue was an inscription. Ancient. Unknown. Yet somehow Emma could read it. Her voice trembled as she spoke the words aloud. When the stars return to their original positions, the sleeper shall awaken. The moment she finished speaking, the ground beneath the city shook violently. A deep rumble echoed through the darkness. Far below. Far beneath the city itself. Something moved. Something enormous. Emma stumbled backward. Then came another sound. A sound she would never forget. A heartbeat. One gigantic heartbeat. Boom. Silence. Then again. Boom. 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 The heartbeat was getting stronger. Closer. And somewhere deep beneath the lost city, something that had slept for thousands of years was beginning to wake up. The heartbeat echoed beneath the city. Boom. 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 Each pulse seemed to shake the very foundations of the underground world. Emma stood frozen beside the giant hooded statue. Her flashlight trembled in her hand. Far below the city, something had awakened. And it was alive. The radio attached to her jacket suddenly crackled. For a moment, only static came through. Then Professor Holloway's voice emerged. Weak. Panicked. Emma. Return immediately. Static. We found something. Static again. You need to see this. The signal died. Emma immediately began running back toward the expedition team. The giant black building seemed even more threatening now. Shadows moved strangely between them. Several times she thought she saw figures watching her from distant rooftops. Tall figures. Far too tall to be human. But whenever she looked directly at them, they disappeared. 20 minutes later, Emma reached the others. The scientists stood gathered around a massive stone structure. Nobody spoke. Everyone looked terrified. Emma pushed through the crowd. Then she saw it. And her blood turned cold. The structure wasn't a building. It was a doorway. A doorway nearly 100 feet tall. Its black stone surface was covered in carvings. Thousands of carvings. At first they looked like ordinary artwork. Then Emma looked closer. The carvings told a story. A horrifying story. They showed enormous beings descending from the stars thousands of years ago. Giants. Not human giants. Something else. Something ancient. The creatures towered above primitive humans. Teaching them. Guiding them. Building cities. Creating civilizations. Then the carvings changed. The giants began worshipping something. A dark circular object floating above the earth. An enormous black sphere. Even the giants seemed afraid of it. The final carvings were the most disturbing. The giants were shown sealing the sphere beneath the ground. Deep underground. Far below the city. And beneath the final image was an inscription. Emma translated it aloud. The sleeper must never awaken. Silence filled the hall. Nobody wanted to speak. Nobody wanted to ask the obvious question. But one scientist finally whispered. What exactly is the sleeper? No one knew. Suddenly, a loud metallic sound echoed through the city. Clang. Everyone jumped. Then again. Clang. Clang. The sound seemed to come from somewhere deeper underground. Almost like chains moving. Massive chains. The heartbeat beneath the city grew stronger. Boom. 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 Closer now. Much closer. Professor Holloway turned toward a nearby passageway. It led beneath the giant doorway. Deep underground. Into darkness. His face looked pale. Exhausted. But determined. That's where the answers are. Several scientists immediately protested. Others wanted to return to the surface. Nobody felt safe anymore. Then something strange happened. The black stone in Emma's pocket began glowing brighter than ever before. A beam of dark blue light emerged from it. The beam pointed directly toward the underground passage. As if guiding her. Calling her. waiting for her. The team reluctantly followed. The tunnel descended far beneath the city. Hours passed. The deeper they traveled, the older everything became. Soon they discovered something impossible. The city above was not the oldest structure. There was another city beneath it. Far older. Far larger. Far darker. Ancient towers stretched into endless darkness. Many had collapsed thousands of years ago. Others still stood. Waiting. Watching. Then they entered a gigantic chamber. The Hall of the Giants. Everyone stopped breathing. Dozens of enormous stone thrones surrounded the room. Each throne was occupied. Not by statues. By skeletons. Giant skeletons. 15 feet tall. Maybe taller. The remains of the beings who built the city. The giants were real. Every single one of them sat facing the center of the chamber. As if they had died watching something. Guarding something. In the middle of the hall stood a colossal black door. Unlike anything they had seen before. Its surface seemed to absorb light itself. And wrapped around the door were enormous chains. Thousands of them. Each chain thicker than a tree trunk. The chains trembled slightly. Moving. As though something on the other side was pulling them. Trying to break free. Then. One of the giant skeletons moved. A finger twitched. A scientist screamed. Another skeleton slowly lifted its head. Stone dust fell from its ancient bones. Its empty eye sockets turned toward the team. And a deep voice echoed through the chamber. The seal is broken. The heartbeat beneath the world suddenly became deafening. Boom. 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 And the giant black door began to open. The colossal black door began to open. Slowly. Painfully. As though it had not moved for tens of thousands of years. The chains wrapped around it groaned under immense pressure. Clang. 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 The sound echoed throughout the hall of the giants. Dust poured from the ceiling. The ground trembled violently beneath everyone's feet. And then. One of the giant skeletons stood up. Stone fragments fell from its bones. Its empty eye sockets glowed with pale blue light. The creature towered nearly 15 feet above the terrified scientists. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The giant slowly turned its skull toward Emma. For a long moment, it simply stared. Then it spoke. Its voice sounded ancient. Like mountains grinding together. The blood-bearer has returned. Emma's heart nearly stopped. The black stone in her pocket suddenly became hot. Almost burning. The giant took one step forward. Boom. The entire hall shook. Then another. Boom. Several scientists backed away in panic. One man raised a flare gun. Another grabbed an emergency weapon. Professor Holloway immediately shouted. Don't attack it. But fear had already taken control. The scientist fired. The flare shot across the chamber. It struck the giant directly in the chest. A bright red explosion illuminated the hall. For a moment, silence followed. Then the giant slowly looked down. Completely unharmed. Its glowing eyes lifted toward the scientist. The ancient guardian raised one massive hand. A sudden invisible force exploded across the room. The scientist was thrown 20 feet through the air. His body crashed into a stone pillar. The sound of breaking bones echoed through the hall. He never moved again. The giant lowered its hand. Its expression remained emotionless. Foolish children. The remaining giants began moving. One by one. Ancient skeletons rose from their thrones. Dust clouds filled the air. Blue light glowed inside dozens of empty eye sockets. The guardians had awakened. And every single one of them was watching Emma. Not the others. Emma. Fear spread through the expedition team. Some wanted to run. Others could barely stand. But Emma noticed something strange. The giants were not acting aggressively. They looked worried. Terrified even. As if something worse than them existed. Something hidden behind the black door. The first giant slowly pointed toward the opening seal. It wakes. The words echoed through the hall. Every giant lowered its head. As if mourning. Emma stepped forward carefully. Her voice trembled. What is the sleeper? The giant stared at her for several seconds. Then answered. Before humanity existed. The hall became silent. Before oceans. Before mountains. Before your world had a moon. The giant pointed toward the darkness behind the opening door. It came. Every scientist listened in terrified silence. The giant continued. It crossed the stars. It consumed worlds. It fed on civilizations. Emma felt her blood run cold. The giant's glowing eyes darkened. We could not destroy it. We could only imprison it. The heartbeat beneath the city became louder. Boom. 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 The black door continued opening wider. Darkness poured through the gap like smoke. Yet it wasn't smoke. It moved with purpose. Alive. Watching. Suddenly. A scream echoed through the hall. Everyone turned. One of the scientists was floating several feet above the ground. His eyes were wide with terror. No one was touching him. No cables. No machinery. Nothing. An unseen force lifted him higher. And higher. And higher. Then his body twisted violently. Crack. 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 Bones snapped. Limbs bent unnaturally. The man screamed until his voice disappeared. Then silence. His lifeless body dropped onto the stone floor. Dead. The giants immediately stepped backward. For the first time. Emma saw fear in their glowing eyes. One giant whispered. It knows we are here. Then the darkness behind the black door moved. Something enormous shifted far beyond the threshold. Far larger than any building. Far larger than the city itself. And two gigantic golden eyes slowly opened inside the darkness. Watching. Waiting. Hungry. The giant golden eyes stared from beyond the black door. Ancient. Endless. Hungry. The entire hall of the giants fell silent. Even the heartbeat beneath the city stopped. For one terrifying moment. Everything became still. As if the world itself was holding its breath. Emma couldn't move. Couldn't blink. Couldn't even think. Those eyes were looking directly at her. Not at the scientists. Not at the giants. At her. Then the voice came. Not through the air. Not through the walls. Inside her mind. A voice older than language itself. You remember me. Emma screamed and fell to her knees. Pain exploded inside her skull. Images flooded her mind. Thousands. Millions. Entire civilizations rising and falling. Planets burning. Stars dying. Worlds turning to dust. And always. The same golden eyes watching. Waiting. Feeding. The giant guardians immediately surrounded Emma. Their glowing blue eyes brightened. Ancient symbols appeared across their skeletons. The lead giant raised both hands toward the black door. Do not listen to it. The voice laughed. The sound was unbearable. The walls cracked. The floor trembled. Several scientists collapsed unconscious. Blood flowed from their ears. Then something impossible happened. The darkness behind the door began taking shape. A colossal shadow slowly emerged. At first only a silhouette. Then a massive claw. The claw alone was larger than a house. Its surface wasn't flesh. It looked like living darkness. Stars appeared to move beneath its skin. Entire galaxies swirled inside it. As if the creature's body contained pieces of the universe itself. One scientist whispered in terror. "That's not a creature." He was right. It wasn't. It was something far older. Far stranger. The lead giant turned toward the team. For the first time, urgency filled his voice. "Leave now." Nobody argued. The giants looked terrified. And if beings this powerful were afraid, then whatever lay beyond the door was beyond imagination. Suddenly Professor Holloway stepped forward. Emma noticed something strange immediately. His eyes. They weren't normal. Golden light glowed inside them. The same golden light as the sleeper's eyes. The professor smiled. A smile that wasn't his own. Too late. Every giant froze. The lead guardian stared at Holloway. "It has chosen a vessel." Emma's heart dropped. The sleeper had been influencing someone all along. And that someone was Holloway. The professor slowly raised his hand. Ancient symbols appeared across his skin. Golden veins spread beneath his flesh. His body began changing. Twisting. Growing taller. Stronger. Less human. The scientists backed away in horror. "Professor." Emma whispered. Holloway laughed. But the voice wasn't his. It was the sleeper speaking through him. "I guided you here." Emma felt cold terror. The videos. The signal. The black stone. Everything. It had all been planned. The giant guardians immediately charged. The hall erupted into chaos. One giant struck Holloway with enough force to shatter stone. The transformed professor flew across the chamber. But then. He stood up. Completely unharmed. The golden light inside his eyes burned brighter. A wave of invisible energy exploded from his body. 3 giant guardians were thrown across the hall. Ancient bones shattered. The impossible had happened. The sleeper's vessel was stronger than the guardians. The black door opened wider. More darkness poured into the hall. The gigantic golden eyes moved closer. 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 And for the first time, Emma saw part of its face. Not a face. A nightmare. A shape the human mind wasn't meant to understand. Looking at it made reality seem wrong. The walls bent. The floor twisted. Several scientists screamed and covered their eyes. One man looked directly at the creature for only a second. Then he simply vanished. Gone. As if he had never existed. The lead giant turned desperately toward Emma. Its blue eyes burned brightly. "You carry the key." Emma stared at the black stone. It was glowing brighter than ever before. Almost like a miniature star. "What key?" she shouted. The giant pointed toward the darkness. "The prison was never the city." The giant's voice shook. "The prison was you." Emma froze. The world seemed to stop. Then the giant spoke the words that changed everything. "You were born to seal the sleeper." The golden eyes suddenly widened. And the sleeper smiled. The giant's words echoed through the hall of the giants. "You were born to seal the sleeper." Emma felt the ground disappear beneath her. The black stone in her hand burned with blue-white light. Around her, the ancient city trembled. The gigantic golden eyes beyond the black door remained fixed upon her. Watching. Waiting. Smiling. No. Emma whispered. This can't be true. The lead giant slowly knelt before her. Despite being 15 feet tall, it lowered its head respectfully. Like a guardian before a queen. The bloodline has forgotten. Emma stared at him. What bloodline? The giant pointed toward the glowing stone. Ancient symbols began floating around them. The air itself transformed. The hall of the giants vanished. And a vision appeared. Emma found herself standing beneath a sky unlike any she had ever seen. 3 moons hung above the earth. Massive golden cities stretched across the horizon. Towering crystal structures touched the clouds. Thousands of years ago. Before recorded history. Before civilization. Before memory. The vision showed human beings living beside the giants. Not as slaves. Not as enemies. As allies. Together they built enormous cities. Together they studied the stars. Together they guarded something. The sleeper. Then the sky darkened. A massive shadow appeared among the stars. At first it looked like a black cloud. Then a planet. Then something far worse. The sleeper. It had arrived from deep space. Ancient. Hungry. Impossible. Entire worlds had already fallen to it. Civilizations older than Earth had vanished because of it. And now. It had found humanity. Emma watched as the giants fought desperately. Great wars erupted across the world. Mountains shattered. Oceans boiled. Entire continents disappeared. Millions died. Yet nothing could kill the sleeper. Every time its body was destroyed, it returned. Every time it was sealed, it escaped. Finally the giants discovered a solution. Not a weapon. Not a prison. A bloodline. A living seal. A family whose descendants would carry a fragment of the prison inside them. Generation after generation. Century after century. Protecting humanity without ever knowing the truth. The vision suddenly changed. Emma saw a young woman standing beside the giants. The woman looked exactly like her. Same eyes. Same face. Same features. The giant beside Emma spoke softly. She was the first. Emma's heart pounded. The woman in the vision placed her hand upon a glowing crystal. A piece of the sleeper's prison entered her body. And from that day onward, the bloodline began. The vision shattered. Emma found herself back inside the hall of the giants. Her breathing was heavy. Her hands trembled. The giant looked directly into her eyes. You are the last descendant. The realization hit her like a wave. Everything suddenly made sense. The signal. The stone. The visions. The voices. The sleeper had not called the expedition. It had called her. Across the chamber, Professor Holloway's transformed body slowly rose from the rubble. Golden energy poured from his eyes. His smile widened. At last, the sleeper whispered through him. The black door behind him opened even farther. Ancient chains snapped one after another. Clang. 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 The sound echoed through the city. Then something horrifying happened. The giant guardians suddenly looked upward. Fear filled their glowing eyes. Emma followed their gaze. The ceiling above the hall was cracking. Huge fractures spread across the stone. The city above them was collapsing. The sleeper's awakening was destroying the entire underground world. The lead giant stood. Its blue eyes burned brightly. There is little time. Emma gripped the glowing stone. What do I do? The giant pointed toward the deepest part of the city. Far beyond the black door. Far beneath the world. Toward a place known only in legend. A place the giants had sworn never to enter again. Then he spoke a name that had been forgotten for thousands of years. You must reach the heart chamber. The golden eyes beyond the door suddenly narrowed. For the first time. The sleeper looked worried. And somewhere deep beneath the lost city. A second heartbeat began. Boom. A heartbeat that did not belong to the sleeper. Something else was waking up. The second heartbeat echoed through the ancient city. Boom. Silence. Then again. Boom. The sound came from somewhere far below the hall of the giants. Deeper than the black door. Deeper than the city. Deeper than anything the expedition had discovered. Even the giant guardians looked terrified. And that terrified Emma more than anything else. The lead giant turned toward her. Its glowing blue eyes had grown dimmer. As if it were running out of time. The heart chamber is awakening. Emma tightened her grip around the glowing black stone. What is the heart chamber? The giant hesitated. For the first time since awakening, it seemed reluctant to answer. Then it spoke. The place where the prison was created. Emma felt a chill crawl down her spine. Behind them, Professor Holloway laughed. The sound echoed through the collapsing hall. But it was no longer Holloway's voice. The sleeper spoke through him now. Ancient. Cruel. Victorious. Tell her the truth. The giant ignored him. But Emma noticed something. Fear. Real fear. In the eyes of the ancient guardian. The giant finally answered. The heart chamber was built before humanity existed. The chamber shook violently. Stone pillars collapsed around them. Ancient dust filled the air. Yet the giant continued. Even we did not create it. Emma froze. The giants had built cities. Controlled advanced technologies. Protected Earth for thousands of years. If they hadn't built the heart chamber. Then who had? The giant pointed downward. Toward the darkness beneath the city. The first ones. The words echoed through the hall. Several surviving scientists exchanged nervous glances. Nobody had ever heard that name. The giant continued. Before the giants. Before humanity. Before Earth became what it is today. There were the first ones. Emma's heartbeat quickened. The giant's voice became quieter. Almost respectful. They shaped worlds. Moved stars. Created civilizations. And then they vanished. Suddenly the black stone in Emma's hand flashed brightly. A vision exploded inside her mind. She stood inside a massive circular chamber. The ceiling stretched higher than mountains. Golden light flowed through enormous crystal structures. And in the center stood beings unlike anything she had ever seen. Tall. Elegant. Covered in glowing symbols. Not human. Not giants. Something greater. The first ones. The vision changed. Emma watched the first ones discover the sleeper. A dark cosmic entity drifting between galaxies. Feeding. Destroying. Growing stronger. Entire worlds disappeared before it. Thousands of civilizations fell. And eventually, it came to Earth. The first ones fought it. The giants fought it. Humanity's ancestors fought it. But nothing worked. The sleeper could not be killed. Only imprisoned. The vision suddenly ended. Emma collapsed to one knee. Breathing heavily. The giant helped her stand. Now you understand. Emma nodded slowly. The sleeper wasn't simply a monster. It was older than Earth. Older than history. Older than civilization itself. Then something impossible happened. The heartbeat below suddenly accelerated. Boom. 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 Much faster now. The entire underground city began trembling violently. Cracks spread across walls and floors. Ancient towers collapsed in the distance. The lost city was dying. Suddenly a bright blue beam shot from Emma's stone. The beam pointed toward a hidden passage behind the giant thrones. A passage nobody had noticed before. Ancient symbols glowed across its entrance. The lead giant stared at it. Then whispered. "The path has opened." Professor Holloway immediately screamed. Not in anger. In panic. The sleeper was panicking. Golden energy exploded around him. The black door behind him shook violently. The gigantic eyes narrowed. Watching Emma. Watching the passage. The lead giant stepped in front of her. "Go." Emma looked at him. "What about you?" The guardian slowly turned toward the black door. Toward the sleeper. Toward certain death. Then smiled sadly. "We were created for this purpose." One by one, the remaining giant guardians stood beside him. Ancient warriors preparing for their final battle. Emma and the surviving scientists entered the hidden passage. The stone doorway slowly closed behind them. The sounds of battle immediately erupted. Thunderous impacts. Roars. Screams. The collapse of entire structures. The final war had begun. The passage descended for what felt like hours. Deeper. And deeper. And deeper. Until finally, the tunnel opened into the largest chamber Emma had ever seen. She stopped breathing. Everyone did. Because at the center of the chamber floated an enormous crystal sphere. A sphere nearly the size of a city. Glowing with brilliant silver light. And inside the crystal, something was sleeping. Not the sleeper. Something else. Something ancient. Something powerful. Something the giants had feared for thousands of years. Then the crystal suddenly cracked. A voice echoed throughout the chamber. Calm. Ancient. Awake. The sleeper has returned. And slowly, the eyes inside the crystal opened. The eyes inside the crystal opened. Brilliant silver light flooded the heart chamber. The surviving scientists instinctively shielded their faces. Emma stood frozen. Unable to look away. Inside the enormous crystal sphere floated a figure unlike anything she had ever seen. Neither human. Nor giant. Nor one of the mysterious first ones from her visions. It appeared to be something beyond all of them. Ancient. Timeless. Powerful. Its body seemed made of living starlight. Entire galaxies swirled beneath its translucent skin. Constellations moved inside its eyes. And when it finally spoke, the entire chamber trembled. The sleeper awakens once more. The crystal surrounding the being slowly shattered. Thousands of glowing fragments drifted through the air like falling stars. The figure floated gently to the ground. Every scientist stared in awe. Nobody dared speak. Emma finally stepped forward. "Who are you?" The being turned toward her. Its silver eyes glowed softly. "I am the last guardian." Silence filled the chamber. The name itself felt ancient. Older than history. Older than language. Then the guardian raised one hand. A vision appeared around them. Not inside Emma's mind. Around everyone. The heart chamber vanished. The walls disappeared. And suddenly they were standing among the stars. Entire galaxies stretched endlessly around them. Worlds drifted through space. Ancient civilizations flourished across distant planets. Then darkness arrived. A moving shadow larger than worlds. The sleeper. Emma watched as planets died. Stars vanished. Civilizations that had existed for millions of years disappeared into darkness. The sleeper consumed everything. Not out of hatred. Not out of anger. Simply because it was its nature. The guardian's voice echoed through the vision. The sleeper was never born. It has always existed. Emma felt a chill run through her body. Before stars. Before time. Before reality took shape. The darkness continued devouring entire systems. No army could stop it. No weapon could harm it. The vision changed. Now Emma saw the first ones. The most advanced civilization that had ever existed. Even they could not destroy the sleeper. But they discovered something. A weakness. Not physical. Not technological. A weakness hidden within consciousness itself. The guardian continued. The sleeper feeds upon fear. It feeds upon despair. It feeds upon the darkness inside living minds. Emma suddenly understood. The creature didn't merely destroy worlds. It consumed hope. Consumed thought. Consumed entire civilizations from the inside. The stars vanished. The heart chamber returned. The guardian stared directly at Emma. And now it wants you. Emma's heart sank. She already knew why. The bloodline. The living seal. Suddenly. The entire chamber shook violently. Boom! A deafening roar echoed from above. Dust rained from the ceiling. The surviving scientists screamed. The battle above had ended. And judging by the sound, the giants had lost. A second explosion followed. Even larger. The silver light around the heart chamber flickered. The guardian closed its eyes briefly. As if listening. Then it spoke quietly. The last guardians have fallen. Emma lowered her head. The ancient warriors who had protected Earth for thousands of years were gone. Then another voice echoed through the chamber. A voice Emma recognized immediately. Professor Holloway. Or what remained of him. Found you. Golden energy exploded through the tunnel entrance. The surviving scientists ran in terror. The guardian's expression darkened. For the first time. It looked worried. A gigantic shadow appeared at the entrance of the heart chamber. Not Holloway anymore. His body had transformed into something monstrous. 20 feet tall. Covered in golden cracks. His eyes burned like miniature suns. Behind him. Darkness flowed into the chamber. Endless darkness. The sleeper was coming. The guardian slowly stepped forward. Silver energy surrounded its body. The air itself began vibrating. Ancient symbols appeared across the floor. The final defense was activating. The monster that had once been Holloway smiled. A terrible smile. Then the sleeper spoke through him. You cannot stop me this time. The guardian answered calmly. Perhaps not. Its silver eyes shifted toward Emma. But she can. Suddenly the black stone in Emma's hand cracked. A beam of brilliant light shot upward. Straight toward the center of the chamber. Ancient symbols awakened across every wall. Every floor. Every ceiling. The entire heart chamber came alive. The guardian looked at Emma one final time. And revealed the truth that changed everything. You are not merely the last descendant. Emma stared at him. The guardian's voice echoed through the chamber. You are the final piece of the prison. The black stone shattered completely. And something inside Emma awakened. The black stone shattered. A brilliant explosion of silver light filled the heart chamber. Emma screamed as power surged through her body. Ancient symbols appeared across her skin. Not carved. Not burned. Awakened. For thousands of years they had slept within her bloodline. Now they were alive. The heart chamber trembled violently. The monstrous figure that had once been Professor Holloway stepped backward. For the first time, fear appeared in the sleeper's golden eyes. The last guardian slowly smiled. Now you remember. Images flooded Emma's mind. Millions of memories. Not her own. The memories of every ancestor who had carried the living seal. Generation after generation. Thousands of years. All leading to this moment. She finally understood. The bloodline had never been a prison. It had been a key. A key designed to activate the true prison hidden beneath earth. The darkness pouring from the tunnel suddenly stopped. The sleeper's massive presence filled the chamber. Reality itself seemed to bend around it. Walls twisted. Gravity shifted. Time felt broken. The surviving scientists fell to their knees in terror. Some cried. Some screamed. Some simply stared. Unable to comprehend what they were seeing. Then the sleeper spoke directly. Not through Holloway. Not through thoughts. Directly. Its voice echoed through existence itself. I have waited since the birth of stars. The chamber shook. Worlds have fallen before me. Another tremor. Civilizations have become dust. Golden light blazed from its eyes. And now Earth will join them. Emma rose into the air. Silver energy surrounded her. Ancient symbols spun around her body like living constellations. The last guardian stepped beside her. Together they faced the darkness. The guardian whispered. This is the moment the first ones prepared for. Emma nodded. No fear remained. Only purpose. The sleeper attacked. Darkness exploded across the chamber. Entire sections of reality seemed to disappear. The heart chamber cracked apart. Mountains of stone collapsed. Ancient structures shattered. The world trembled. Emma raised her hand. A wall of silver light appeared instantly. The darkness struck it. For a moment. Nothing happened. Then the collision exploded like a dying star. A shockwave raced through the underground city. Far above, glaciers cracked. Ice mountains collapsed. The entire Antarctic continent shook. The final battle had begun. The sleeper roared. Its true form finally emerged. Not a creature. Not a monster. An endless living void stretching beyond sight. Within its body were fragments of dead worlds. Broken stars. The ruins of forgotten galaxies. It was less a being and more a cosmic catastrophe. The last guardian stepped forward. Silver light erupted around him. For one glorious moment he shone brighter than the sun. Then he looked at Emma. And smiled. Protect them. Emma realized what he meant. No. But it was too late. The guardian charged directly into the sleeper. A massive explosion of silver energy filled the universe. The heart chamber vanished in blinding light. The sleeper screamed. For the first time in eternity. It felt pain. When the light faded. The guardian was gone. Forever. Only Emma remained. Alone. The final guardian of Earth. The sleeper weakened. Ancient cracks spread across its darkness. The prison was ready. But one final piece was missing. Emma. She understood now. The prison required a living consciousness. A willing sacrifice. Just as it always had. Tears filled her eyes. She thought of her family. Her friends. The world above. The billions of people who would never know her name. Never know what had happened here. But they would live. And that was enough. The sleeper realized the truth. Its golden eyes widened. No. For the first time. It was afraid. Emma smiled. Then she stepped into the center of the ancient prison. Silver light erupted from every symbol in the heart chamber. Across Antarctica. Across Earth. Across the stars. The prison awakened completely. The sleeper screamed. The darkness collapsed inward. The ancient entity fought desperately. But it was too late. The prison closed. Reality itself sealed around it. Layer after layer. World after world. Dimension after dimension. Until finally. The sleeper disappeared. Gone. Silence. Complete silence. 1 year later. Scientists across the world studied the strange Antarctic earthquake. Official reports blamed natural geological activity. The lost city was never found again. The tunnels had vanished. Buried beneath miles of ice. History moved on. As it always does. But on clear winter nights. Some researchers reported seeing a strange silver light beneath the Antarctic ice. A light that pulsed softly. Like a heartbeat. Watching. Protecting. Waiting. And deep within the eternal prison. A silver figure sat alone. Guarding the darkness. Guarding humanity. Guarding the sleeper. Forever. That figure was Emma Carter. The last guardian.